There are a lot of different ideas, thoughts, and philosophies on cattle handling and stockmanship. And we're going to talk about horsemanship, four-wheelers, and footwork to try to get the proper pressure applied at the right time. So the very basics of cattle handling are understanding flight zones and balance point. When we talk about flight zone, that's the distance that causes an animal to flee. But what we want to do is create a movement at the right angle with the right amount of intensity to get that animal to move off smoothly. The balance point is where you place yourself on the side of the animal to get them to move forward or slow down or stop or turn away. So when we're talking about what to use to get into those zones, a four-wheeler, a horse, or a foot, there are different ideas, different thoughts that should apply. On foot is probably the easiest and the best, but not always the most appropriate for the situation. When we talk about a four-wheeler, it has real easy capability to go forward, fast, slow, or medium, and stop and back up, but you can't take it sideways. Some horses are real good to go fast forward and you can't stop them or whatever. So however well your horse is trained, you can get that to whatever level you'd like to take it. The more experience you have as a stockman, you learn to read the animals and immediately change to what they will work best at. They will tell you by their reaction to you how to change to fit what they need. Then you can increase your angles, sharpen your angles, slow your speed down or speed it up. Once we get cattle trusting us, it's real important not to make loud noises, fast moves or whatever to disrupt or to break that trust. I'm a horseback guy. So naturally, I'm going to think the horse is the best way to go about things because that's what I know, that's what I grew up with, and that's what I understand. To me, the same philosophies of getting a horse good to ride and good to work with are the exact same philosophies that it takes to be a good stockman with handling cattle. As we get ready to go gather or move or check cattle, whatever we're going to do, it's important to, first of all, have a plan in your own mind of what you'd like to do and how you'd like to do it, and communicate that plan to whoever you're working with. Our industry is at a time when we need to speak up and talk about proper stockmanship. So when you neighbor or have people that you hire come to work for you, make sure and explain to them that on your outfit, bad treatment of livestock is not tolerated. And if things start falling apart, rather than speed up to try to make it better, we're going to slow down and regroup and make another plan. That'll make things go a lot smoother while you're working. And when your wife's concerned, it'll make things when you get back home a lot better. So this back and forth motion is real important to let these cows get mothered up and paired up. So instead of just going after this cow right here, I'll just go by her, let her move, hesitate just a bit, send her on her way. Now that we got our movement started, we'll just kind of go alongside of them so they don't go too fast. They're kind of wanting to move pretty fast. So if we kind of go along with them, we'll kind of slow that movement down. I'll just start this cow and the calf, nice and easy. I'll be real careful not to advance too far on these cows. I'll just go back and forth. I'll see her right eye, then I'll see her left eye. That'll just keep her moving off for me. When we'd like to get the cows to stay in a spot, if we remember, we can't make them stop. We've got to get them to decide to stop. So if you ride with them, now when they turn back and start into those other cows, they're going to start their movement way, they're going to push those cows right on up the hill. So we got cows wanting to go everywhere. So I'm going to get these cows headed up the trail, and I'm going to go right up along these cows. So I'm going to ride right along, and with Tammy on the other side. If you'll just go up and just park up in front. So we'll stop the movement in all directions. I'm going to ride right down along this black cow, and here's what we'll do. I'm going to ride with her. This is going up to the balance point. So I'm going to change her mind by going forward on the balance point. I'm going to ride. As soon as she acknowledges me by turning her head to look at me, I know she's thinking about me. And I'll move in just a little, move in. And I'll let her and her calf stop, and I'll try to change her mind. Right here, she should look at me with 2 eyes. And now I'll go. Right here, good. Now if I step forward, she ought to just turn around and go back to the bunch. Just that half a step is real important to get her to change her mind about going with that cow and going back to these cattle here. So this is where it's real nice to be real precise with your horse. And back up, change your mind, step forward softly. But you can see that these cows, their ears are somewhere else. They're looking somewhere else. And so it means they want to keep going. They've got movement left in them. And so right here we can see this cow, she's still got movement. These cows won't stay, and it's the way we kind of moved. We didn't have a long enough distance here to stop them. So it's real hard to shut that movement down, but you'll just have to be a little patient and get her shut down. Now I've got their minds turned around, and we'll see what happens to the movement going back the other direction. Now these cows going against each other, these cows moving back against the cows that are coming towards them might be enough just to stop that movement and dissipate the movement that we have going in these cattle. So the thing that being we've got a little bit of movement left in these cows, we should have probably started taking the pressure off, but then we had the mineral tubs and the bog, so it was hard to get the pressure gauge. But now we got our movement stopped, and I'll just try to stop the movement in these few cows here that are looking out. The other cows are starting to think about maybe settling down. There's not a lot of grass here, but there's a few of them starting to think about eating. And once that starts, then we're going somewhere. Once we start have cows stop and putting their head down to graze, that's a nice thing, that's a good sign. But if they're all looking with their ears pointed out, you're not going to hold them for very long. So I'll just ride back and forth here. That's what I like to look for, is those cows that have their head down grazing, those cattle that are eating the trees. Then you start knowing. But these cows that are looking out, wanting to go somewhere else, as soon as you ride off and leave them, they're going to leave you. So all I'm doing here is riding back and forth, looking at my herd, just trying to get them where they're not all pointed the same direction, not all looking the same direction. Get them stopped, turn around and grazing or wanting to lay down.
Another basic principle is if you want cattle to stay in a location, after you move them there, you've got to wait until they get their minds off of driving and keeping track of each other and get their heads down grazing. When cattle are moving, they're going to move in a straight line when they get what Bud Williams calls good movement. But when they start grazing, they're going to start going into random orientation. And when they get into random orientation, which they are right now, then they're more likely to stay where you want them to stay.